this video, you should know how to scale a drawing. You should also know how to copy, how to use array, how to explode, and also how to erase. The first one we'll be looking at is how to scale a drawing. Say for example, we have a rectangle. For that, I click rectangle, specify my lower point, upper point. So this is my rectangle. I wish to change from a white to a different color layer. All right. This color is not so bright. Let's go to blue. So what I'm doing here, I'm basically changing the color of this, changing the layer. So I first click onto this, then onto the color layer that I want. Okay, I don't like this background. I think this background is not compatible with these colors. So to change that, I will be using going into option, OP for option, enter. Then I'm going down to colors, click here, then up to the top right, drop down. Then I'm going for black. I could also use white or any of these colors. I'm going for full black. Click apply, then OK. And what we have here is the workspace, the drawing space change from gray to black. Let's get into the main drawing. So to scale this drawing, I simply type scale SC for scale, enter. Then it will ask me to select the object that I want to scale. I would click onto the object. When it turns blue, I click enter to accept. It then asks me to specify the base point. Again, the base point is the point where we want to grip the object from, or where the object will enlarge from. So I click lower left. It will then ask me to specify a scale factor. Scale factor is pretty much the ratio by which I want to increase or reduce this drawing. A scale factor of less than 1 will reduce the figure. A scale factor of more than 1 will increase the figure. Okay, so if I wish to increase this figure by 50%, I would enter 1.5. 1.5, enter. This object is now scaled, it has increased in size by 50%. It's important to note also that we can also scale object by using reference or match that object to a specific distance that we want. Okay, say for example I have a line here or a space here. Say for example I have a space here and I would like this to fit into that space. Yeah, I would like that object to fit into that space. I could also I could scale this to fit into this space. Let's do that. So for that, I first start by clicking scale, SC, enter. Select object to be scaled, enter. Specify the base point, could be like here. Scale factor, for this I type R, enter, or select reference. Reference, click reference. It will then ask me to specify the reference length, and the reference length is what the length that I want. I want this and that. It will then ask me to select a new length or choose a point. I could enter the new distance that I want this length to be. If I know that length, the length from here to here, length from here to here. Yeah. So as you can see, I can physically move this in place. Yeah. Or I could enter the value that I want for that. Or I could pick 2 points. And those 2 points are the points that the line would adjust to fit. So for this, I click P, click type P, or click on point. It will then ask me to specify the first point. First point is here. Second point is here. And what you find here is that this figure is reduced or scaled to fit the size right here. All right. So we can now move this figure, click this and move this figure in place. So I highlight that figure, I type M for move, enter, click here as my base point, move this to here. And what you have is that this figure is now scaled to fit exactly in that space. We could also scale a figure by, let's undo this, undo to do that, undo also. We could also scale a figure to fit by a given length, all right? Scale the side, a particular side to a particular length, all right? Let's see the length of this size, length of this side. So for that, I go there, click measure distance. I click this point, then my second point. This is 95, all right? This length is 95. If I wish to reduce the scale this length down to say 50, all right? Let me show you how we do that. First, I would click scale or type SC for scale. It would then prompt me to select object. I click this. When the object turns blue, I will then click enter to accept. I will then specify a base point. Again, the base point is a point by which the figure will enlarge or reduce. And for this, I type reference, click reference, and it will then ask me to specify the reference length. And for this, I want to reduce this down to, what did I say, 50? Okay, so I'll type 50, enter. All right. Specify the new length or point. So new length 50, 50. So for 50, enter. And this has now moved to 50. All right. So that's basically how this works. Let's move on now to very interesting command or drawing or modifying tool. All right. Let's draw a circle for this. Click on the circle, specify my center, and draw this using, let's use a radius of 50, enter. Let's also draw a line from the middle of this. And it's important to note that I should point out that if the center of a figure is not popping up, say for example, I activate line, and I want to find the figure, set the center of this figure, I simply move my cross here towards the circumference, and that will bring up the center. I click here, and I move to that point, enter. Now, on the array, there are 3 tools. We can utilize regular array, path array, and polar array. All right. Rectangular array creates a series of circles on a rectangular path. Path array creates or reproduce the same figure along a given path. This path can be a straight line or it could be some shape. Polar array, what this does, this creates a number, it reproduces the figure around And I'm going to explain to you exactly what that is in a second. All right, so let's click on array. It will then ask me to select the object that I wish to array. So I click this line. When it turns blue, I click enter, or I say I want polar array. So I click on polar array. Now, it will then ask me to select the object. I click this object. When it turns blue, I click enter or spacebar to accept. It will then ask me to specify the base point. The base point here, or the center for the round figure. The base point is where the figure will rotate. All right, and by default, once you click the center, it will generate a number of these. The number of arrays that AutoCAD generates is 6 by default. It means therefore, if you want more objects or more entities, you would need to change this from the default 6 to whatever you want. Say, for example, I want 12 spokes. All right. I would come up here, and I would change that from 6 to 12. Okay. And if you look here, we can also determine how many items. We can also determine the angle at which the array occupies. All right. We can also change some additional features which I will not get into. So once I click the 12, enter the 12, I can then press enter or tab key to see the effect. And here we have it, 12, 12 lines being formed in this circle. I could also change this. I could go back up here and change the number if I so inclined. Uh, so that's basically that for polar array. Let's go back to array. This time we want to utilize the rectangular array. So let's click on the rectangular array. Click here. Again, it will ask me to select an object which I want to array. Probably I should draw an object first. Let me draw a rectangle. Draw something like this, all right? Like that. Now let's go back to array. I click on the array drop down button, or I could also type AR. AR is a shortcut key for array. So I type AR, enter. It will then ask me to select object. I click on the object to highlight, then enter. It will then give me a choice to choose between rectangular array part or polar array. All right, in this case, I want rectangular array. So I type R, enter, or click on the rectangular array. And what we have here is by default, it has generated an array here. We can change the number of columns. By default, this is 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. We could change that to probably 6 if we want 6 to 6, and this changes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. We could also change the number of rows. Currently, we have 1, 2, 3 rows. We could change this to 1, 2, 3, or whichever number we so inclined. Say, for example, I want 2 rows. I would simply change this to 2, enter. Yeah. I could also change the distance between each of these. The distance between each square or rectangle, between each element. Yeah. So I could change that from 23 to say 30, 30. And as you can see, the space between these have changed. Okay. I could also determine the total distance I want this to occupy. From here to here, I could determine the total distance that that occupies by clicking onto this. So I could change this to say 200, 200, and the computer will automatically size these accordingly. So I have done that, and what you will realize, this has increased a bit to fit the 200. All right, so that's pretty much all there. Well, a little bit more to this now, but I think this is good. It's important to note that we could use these grips to determine other features also, but I will not be going into these for now. All right. So I could use these to increase the size, the number of rows and columns. So I could do that to bring this down to 1. Yeah, click there. I could also use this grip to change the spacing to something else. Yeah, I could change this to probably 30, 30, enter. Yeah, I could also change the total length. I could also move this. All right, so we can do quite a lot with array. It's important to note that array, once this is in the array form, you will not be able to modify it to an extent. So I would recommend that if you want to work with these individually, you explode this. And that is something else that we will be looking at. Explode. So to explode means to break up an object or a drawing into separate or independent pieces or sides. Say for example this arrayed object. I would not be able to modify or to do anything on each of these blocks if it is as is in the current state. So to be able to work on these, I could explode this entity or block. To do that, I would click on this, or I could click explode first, click on explode, then select object. Once it turns blue, I click enter. And what that does, that allow me to work with these independently. All right. All right. I could also further explode these into 4 different sides by clicking here and again click the explode button, or the shortcut command for explode is X. So I could also type X, enter, to explode this object. And now I have 4 independent sides. Okay. So we have looked at scale, we looked at explode, we looked at array. Now it's time for us to look at a very, very useful tool, which is offset. All right. What offset does, offset allows us to draw lines or arc at a stated distance apart from a line or a sub object. Not just line, but a figure also. Uh, it array is similar to off to parallel. All right. Say for example, I have this figure here, and I wish to draw a next circle and one more circle to this circle at a specific distance apart. I would use this tool, offset. So I'll click offset. It will then give me a choice. We have three choices. We we can specify the offset distance. That is the distance I want the next or the copied object to be from the original. Say for example, so we can state the distance. We can select through. With through, you pretty much freestyle it. You're allowed to move it until you There are some cases where you're not quite sure exactly how far you want that object to be offset. So in that case, you will select through, and as you move your crosshair and the dynamic input give you the distance, you're better able to determine what you think is suitable. Let's work with through. Normally, the last activated command is normally stated here. So for this, the last one used was through. Let's click enter to accept through. Then it will ask me to click on the object. I click here, then I move. As I move out, you will realize that that white box with green figure increases as I move outward. From then and there, I can determine exactly where I want it to be. So let this be 30. So I'll type 30, enter. All right. And we could continue by clicking here, then type a new distance. Just say I want this to be 15, I type 15, enter. That's one way of doing it. However, there is another way of doing this, wherein we could say, for example, a line. I have a line here. I could offset this line at a specific distance. So for that, I either click on the offset icon, and as the command says, specify the offset distance. And for that, say for example, I want this to be um, 30 millimeters from this. I would type 30, enter. It will then prompt me to select the object that I want to offset. I can click here, there, and once you click, you will need to determine which side you want that to be on, up, below, left, or right. And I could continue. I could click this, offset, click here, offset, click this, offset, click that, offset, yeah, etc. That is one. So we looked at two ways of offsetting. All right. We could also create multiple offsets at specific distance. All right. Say for example, I wish to offset this figure at say 25 millimeters, and I want a number of them, and I don't want to be clicking all the time. What I could do, I could set that and use multiple. How we do that? I would first need to enter the offset distance. In this case, I want it to be, let's use 20, 20, enter. Once I click this, it will prompt me to select multiple, to exit or to undo. In this case, I want multiple. So I can type either M or click on the multiple, M. And for that, once I click, it will continue to create. Once I click, 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 more is added until I determine to stop, escape. So that is very useful, all right? So again, to do that, you simply click, activate the offset command, then enter the distance you want it to be. You must start the process. You click on one, then you enter, then you type M for multiple, or click multiple, enter, and then that's pretty much it. The next command is what we wish to look at is erase. And erase is similar to delete, when once you click on an object, it will remove permanently. Erase, use that to remove or to delete objects. I think that's basically it for this. The only really notable one command here under modify is the lengthen. And lengthen is a very useful command. I think I looked at lengthen in my very first video for beginners.